Breaking news, the Sixers are trading away Caleb Martin, who they just signed this past offseason, to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Quentin Grimes and a 2025 second-round pick. Going to break down the entire trade, my thoughts on this move. But before we get into all that, I want to hear from you guys. That's what we're all about here on the show. What is your one-word reaction to the Sixers trading away Caleb Martin? I think mine, I'm a little bit shocked, but I'll get into all that here. So without further ado, let's talk about this move. The 76ers are making their first move of the 2025 NBA trade deadline, sending Caleb Martin to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Quentin Grimes and a 2025 second-round pick. Going to break down the trade details of this move, sending out Caleb Martin, acquiring a player like Quentin Grimes, why the Sixers might have made this deal, and why they moved off of Caleb Martin after just half a season in Philadelphia, despite signing him to a 4-year deal in the offseason. But before we get into all the analysis of this trade, guys, this is why you subscribe to the channel. I've been telling you for weeks now, as we approach the trade deadline, if the Sixers make a move, we're going to make a video no matter what. We're out here in New Orleans for our Super Bowl coverage, but that does not mean that we're not going to bring you coverage on the 76ers. We got you covered here on the channel. So if they make another move, we're going to make another video, and they just might. So be sure to lock us in and hit that sub button. So again, 76ers sending Caleb Martin to the Mavericks for Quentin Grimes and a second-round pick this year. That second-round pick is actually Philadelphia's second-round pick that they had sent out in a previous trade. It had been traded a couple times, so now they get their own second-round pick back for this season. And when you take a look at Caleb Martin, there's been some rumors Caleb Martin was garnering interest from other teams in the past couple of weeks, and I was not a fan of sending out Caleb Martin because I thought he fit very well with Joel Embiid, with Tyrese Maxey, what this team was trying to do. We've seen in big moments him be very, very good with the Miami Heat in that postseason run. Even this year, he's had some big moments. Think about that Christmas Day game against the Boston Celtics where he was tremendous. But look, the injuries have sort of caught up with him a little bit this year. Hasn't got a whole lot of run, hasn't played as many games as I think you'd like to see. And when he has played, not quite the player that you probably thought you were paying for. Now, he's never been a great regular season guy, and that's why I think it's a little disappointing we never got to see him play in some meaningful games here in Philadelphia, because that's when he returns that value on that deal. But 9 points, 4.5 rebounds, 43% from the field, 38% from three. Pretty solid, especially when you consider how bad he was shooting the ball to start the season. But, just never really got to see the kind of player he could have been for your squad. Clearly now, Daryl Morey not comfortable with that long-term deal, and we'll get into, the financial side of things here in a second. But I want to get to Quentin Grimes first, because obviously this is the guy you're bringing in now to replace Caleb Martin. And look, Quentin Grimes having a very good season for the Dallas Mavericks. Probably one of the best seasons of his young NBA career, right? 10 points a game, 46% from the field, almost 40% from three on about 4 attempts a game. And when you look at the Sixers roster, right, one of the things they struggled with all year has been that three-point shot. And Caleb Martin sort of has been a reason why they've been struggling in that department. But Quentin Grimes now gives you a 40% three-point shooter that you can have on your arsenal. And with the Sixers roster, obviously you lost Jared McCain for the season with that injury. And then, the other guards on your roster, you got Tyrese Maxey there, of course, but Kyle Lowry, Reggie Jackson, just not really getting the job done. Eric Gordon's been better as of late, but now you get a younger guy in here who you feel more comfortable playing over some of those older guys who is having a career season. But when we go back to the financial side of things, because, of course, the financials do play a role in why the Sixers made this move, they signed Caleb Martin to a 4-year, $35 million contract in the offseason. At the time, myself and many around the league thought that was a steal of a contract for a player that should have gotten more in free agency. Sort of had a weird situation where it was going to go back to Miami and that they actually offered him more money, but the Sixers ended up getting him on a steal of a deal. But it's interesting. Jake Fisher reports that NBA execs now view Martin's deal as negative future money, and Quentin Grimes is on an expiring contract, $4.2 million, that he will be a free agent this offseason. So you're going to have to pay Quentin Grimes if you want to keep him. I liked the idea of having Caleb Martin on a team-friendly contract at about $8 million a year for the next 4 years, because it's hard, especially in today's NBA, with the new CBA and all the financial rules, first apron, second apron, all that, of getting good players on good deals. And Caleb Martin, while he's not an all-star, not a great player, he's a good player, a player that I think all championship teams would covet, and that's why he was getting trade interest coming up to the NBA trade deadline. So now, clearly Daryl Morey didn't feel comfortable hanging on to that long-term money. It's obviously not quite the same that you would have thought when you signed him to, and execs around the league would agree it's not quite the best deal that you would have thought with at the time. Also with the Sixers, I talked about them needing another guard with Jared McCain being out. You look at the emergence of a young player like Justin Edwards, the undrafted free agent, who over the last 2+ weeks or so has really shown a lot of flashes and I think has earned a spot in this rotation. You still have Ricky Council, who after a slow start was sent back down to the G League for one game. He's been back, and he's been really good as well. You have Gershon Yabusele, who plays that 4-5 role. You still have Kelly Oubre, who's on that wing. So I think the Sixers sort of had, an excess amount of wings in the roster and really needed another guard here moving forward, and they get a young guy in Grimes. But why would the Sixers want to make this deal and open up more money, right? Because ultimately this is what they're doing. With making this move, they actually dip under the first apron now, which of course, is going to save them a little bit of money, but they're going to need more space this offseason to potentially bring back Gershon Yabusele. We've talked about this on the show where bringing back Gershon is going to be very difficult because of these NBA rules and re-signing guys that were originally on minimums that you only had for 1 year. If you don't have team control of them on their contract for enough time, then you can't give them as much money as you might have hoped. So now this can open up a little more money that they can try to use to bring back Yabusele. Again, move forward with Justin Edwards at that forward spot. You still have KJ Martin on the roster, who I thought would probably have been the guy to get traded. I was, again, a little surprised that it ends up being Caleb Martin. So Sixers moving off of Caleb Martin after just half a season in Philadelphia. Quentin Grimes, good to see a young player in here, a player that, just 24 years old, I think still does have his best days ahead of him in this league. Of course, he will be a free agent, so you're going to have to re-sign him if you want. And I think he might be more expensive than the $8 million that Caleb Martin is being paid. So to me, this signals, one, the Sixers really wanted to get their 2025 second-round pick back, so they have that in their control, whether to use on a player in the upcoming draft or just, as some trade ammo in a potential future trade. But just open a little more money this offseason, have some more flexibility so they can re-sign some of their own guys and just get off of the Martin deal, which again, I still think is a good deal, but some people around the league see his contract as not as valuable as it once was. So there you go. My thoughts on the trade. Caleb Martin officially gone. Quentin Grimes, you are officially a Philadelphia 76er. Let me know your reaction, your one-word reaction and thoughts to this trade down in the comment section. Again, if the Sixers make another move, still 2 days until the NBA trade deadline here on Thursday, February 6th. We're going to keep coming at you with videos every single day. So be sure to subscribe. We'll see you next time here on the show.